G'day guys, and welcome to episode 8 of the Iron Hearts podcast. My name's Danny, obviously.
I'm Zia. Welcome back. Everyone knows who Danny is.
This is true. But episode 8. I'm going to take a little bit of a different, path for this one. Make it a little bit more, non-educational, more personal in a way, right?
A little bit less structured and more so. I guess this is going to be more personal, this one.
Yeah, I think more personal stories on this one. And maybe some of our personal stories may resonate with you guys. I guess that's the goal. But interested to hear your guys' thoughts as well on these topics that we cover today. So it's more like an interesting scenario, right? So we were talking and thinking, well, what if we could turn back time, what will we do differently if we had to start over?
Yeah, so theoretically, a genie gives you normally they give you 3 wishes, so I guess that doesn't really apply. But they give you a wish. You one this time. They give you a wish, or you find a magical pocket watch, and you.
My brain went dumbbell. I don't know why.
A magical dumbbell. A magical kettlebell.
Just giving it fitness.
Just kidding. No one likes kettlebells. But yeah, no, we were just thinking along the lines of you essentially go back in time to when you first decided to, or at least thought in your mind you were going to be a bodybuilder.
Or just started your fitness journey.
Or just started your fitness journey, etc. We're kind of bringing it back to, we've always been active, so we kind of wanted to delineate it by be like, okay, this is, if we were just focused on, I guess, the current goal, which is, being the best bodybuilders we can be, what would we change if we could go back to that day with all of the knowledge that we have acquired between today and then.
With a few caveats, though. We don't have our current physique, right?
Yeah, so we lose 3 things.
Yeah.
Our physique, so we're back to our
old self when we started. For me, it was 2015, so it was 11 years ago, so I would have been 32 at the time. For you, when are you going back to?
I think the time I really decided to dive in really aggressively, and I was like, nah, this is my life, was 28.
28, okay,
so
cool.
About 9 years for me, give or take.
Yep.
And you also lose your, I guess, just kind of tie it into other things. You lose your business and your,
coaching. So we're talking about our coaching business.
So we're kind of, yeah, exactly. We're talking about the coaching business side of things because, what we would do, because I feel like that's kind of helpful for people if, maybe there's some coaches listening and they want to be like, okay, what would you do? And I guess this ties in, but you're following or you're not that we, really care too much about Instagram followings, as for us, it's more about the relationships that we build than being viral and getting engagement. But, it still helps, obviously, to have social credibility in this space, to show 100%. That you have an actual following of people who, take in your content and it's actually
our main
enjoy
source.
it.
Yeah, apart from, I guess, word of mouth is our main source of, lead generation. So it matters. So those 3 things. So physique, business, and Instagram following.
Yeah, I guess industry gravitas is what I would use.
But
as
you still have, you go back with all the knowledge, or the knowledge that we have today. So we're going to talk about kind of what we would do differently, what we wouldn't do differently, maybe, in a few of the different areas. And I think the main one, obvious one to start off with, right, was going to be training. So
yeah, 100%, because I think that's the biggest lever alongside nutrition, obviously, but even with nutrition, I think sometimes not being where it is, if you can maximize your training, I mean, you can't get around poor nutrition, obviously, but I still think that training is probably the thing that we've improved the most in the previous decade, our knowledge, not just from an execution standpoint, the difference between what we thought was hard training and what actually gives us results. So yeah, training. I guess I'll let you kick it off because you have a whole bloody, 15-year-old archive of your old training videos and stuff. I have basically nothing. No one knows what happened to me before the age of 30, I think. So
I mean, I guess that's one thing. I really wish the quality of the iPhone cameras that we have today were as good as they were back then. Because I used to film my workouts back in 2015 when the iPhone camera was not as good. And yeah, I look back to some of those exercises, like the kneeling Smith machine squat thrust.
The knee thrusts.
Gosh. Anyway,
Squeeze.
Yeah, that was squeeze.
Yeah.
Of thinking like that was actually doing anything. If you're still doing those, what are you doing? Anyway.
Yeah, it hurts my soul when I see people who I know are coaching with like pretty high level coaches posting those in their programming on their Instagram. I'm like,
it's a this moment. But for me, in regards to the training, I think looking back and knowing what I know now, I would be doing way less. Like I feel like I was overtraining, just in the gym session alone, like so much volume, like at least 4 sets, at least 15 reps for every single one. Just like
4 sets per exercise.
Yeah, 4 sets per exercise.
A lot of exercises.
Yeah, 5 days a week. And then on top of that, I was doing really intense conditioning HIIT classes at Tone House. I don't know how many times a week, but multiple times a week. Also going out and dancing on weekends as well. I mean, I lived in New York, and that's just I went out dancing every single Friday without fail. So I think for me it was just not enough, and my sleep was trash. So when it comes to training, I was overtraining. I remember when I first started, I banded everything, which I think I've talked about before, but just like booty banded it galore. Too much volume, way too much. Just too much in general. I was just doing the most. And the other thing is I never used to track anything. I never wrote anything down. I didn't track I used to go in there and just kind of wing it. I never followed a program really for the most part. Well, that's a lie. When I started, because I first started with a coach, I was following her program. But in the in-betweens where I wasn't working with a coach, which wasn't that long to be honest, but I would just go in and wing it. So, and I never used to track, and even when I was working with coaches, I never used to track anything until I started working with you in 2022. So
no tracking of reps, sets, execution, rest periods, none of those things.
Oh, my rest, that's a good one. My rest period was non-existent. I used to just like 20 seconds and we're good to go and go straight into it again.
And these are all necessary things to track to ensure progressive overload is even occurring, because if you don't standardize those things, then the parameters are constantly changing.
If you
don't standardize, then it's just a shot in the dark. And you can grow. This is the thing. This is what a lot of people get confused, I think, is in the beginning when your body is receiving what we would call a novel stimulus, you can grow for to a period of time kind of doing everything wrong. It's kind of like, hate to draw this analogy, it's kind of like how you can kind of do everything wrong if you're taking anabolics sometimes, especially if you're taking a lot of them. You know, I always bring it around to this because it just hurts my soul to see so many people still doing the wrong thing, but filling the gaps with anabolics. But that's a separate topic. But in any case, like, it's the same with newbie gains. You'll get a ton of stimulus from training that way. Even if it's ineffectual, you'll still be in a position where you can grow pretty well, and you don't have to be 100% crazy perfect on your execution or even really getting dramatically stronger, because it's your body's kind of like, oh, this is new, and it's going to adapt regardless. So
but I think that would be the main thing. Is just like too much volume, didn't rest, my recovery was trash, and just exercise selection too. I feel like I just did a lot of random shit. So I mean, I used to do some good stuff, but like in the beginning there was definitely a lot of like I was a little miscreative because, again, I was filming my workouts and it was so new to me and I was so obsessed with it that I'd film everything. If you go back in my 2015 laptop,
hey, good for you for doing that, because
trying to motivate others.
I wish I had more footage of the way I trained back in the day so people can see, you know, I didn't always have it figured out, and I didn't always have I have a few really great photos that kind of highlight just how underdeveloped I was, even after many years of lifting. But yeah, I guess, do you want me to talk about what I would change training-wise? I don't think that I had the issue of doing too much, honestly. I don't think because I wasn't doing a ton of HIIT classes and things like that. I think probably one of the biggest things was that I was following what would be considered a reasonable bodybuilding program. You know, it was probably like similar to like a bro split, or maybe like an upper lower, forget upper lower, that hadn't even entered my brain yet. It was like push pull legs, you know, rest push pull legs or something like that. But I think I was training Monday through Saturday and taking Sunday off. The main problem is that or the main problem is that I was at that time not really grasping the fact that just going through the motion and chasing a rep goal, but not actually understanding that intensity and, we've talked about mechanical tension and all these other things that drive high pressure. But if you don't have that concept in your mind, you're just kind of going into the gym and it's like, okay, I have 4 sets of lat pull downs for 15.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I've done my 4 sets of lat pull downs for 15, and it kind of burnt a little bit between rep 12 and 15. So that probably means that growth occurred, right? And the other thing is, like, I think my form and execution was pretty bad. I mean, I was basically doing what was meant to be a frontal plane lat pull down, where I was targeting my lats, and I was basically turning it into a sagittal pull. I was basically training my upper back. It was just bad. It was just, my form was shit. I used to think the bent over row was a good back exercise. Same. Oh my God, a bent over barbell row, if it's in your program. I don't want to say if your coach programs a bent over barbell row in your program, fire your coach, but maybe just ask them why they've programmed a bent over barbell row in your program if, they're telling you that that's a good, it's just so unstable, and just, I was like, I can really feel my back, so I'm definitely growing it, and my back sucked. So probably just ineffectual training volumes, like a complete lack of intensity. Danny was probably chasing the intensity really well, but the wrong type of intensity, because there's cardiovascular intensity, and there's chasing the burn, high reps for toning, as we would call it back in the day, which is kind of a meme in and of itself now. Good old high reps for toning. I always use that reference as like a joke, because that's what I used to think would happen, and that's not how you add muscle to your physique. So probably just, I would learn to structure my programming a little bit better around intensity. I'd probably reduce the number of sets I'm doing. I think I would probably, just to cap it off, I would probably, if I, having the knowledge that I have now, I'd probably be doing like an upper lower, rest upper lower, or a full body every other day type split, honestly, because based on, what we know, that's probably going to be the best way for me to grow. And at the time I was natural as well, so you got to bear that in mind. So,
Same seas.
Yeah.
Wouldn't change that. All right. I guess nutrition on the next piece. This one's interesting.
You want to kick that one off? I already know what we're both going to say is, like, neither of us would, and we can go back further, but neither of us would be drinking alcohol. We would just, completely off the table. Correct.
Right? But you know what? When I first started the journey in 2015, I actually stopped drinking at that time. Because prior to making the decision to enter a bodybuilding competition back then, and get back into the life, I was drinking and partying a lot in New York every weekend. That was after the whole shitty breakup thing. But I wasn't really drinking anyway then. But on the nutrition, I guess when I started this fitness journey, I was sticking to the old school, like, broccoli, chicken, sweet potato. It was such a huge transition, because prior to that I was eating out this is so bad, but there was a bar around the corner from my house in Brooklyn, and they were open till 4 a.m. and they would be serving food until 3 a.m. So I would sometimes I feel like a mac and cheese. Get a mac and cheese at like midnight. It's so bad.
Yeah, I feel like when we're...
That's mac and cheese I've still had to this day in my life. Anyway.
I used to do the same thing at the kebab shop when I was at university. It was open until 2, and even though I wasn't out, on the piss, as we would say, I would still sometimes be like, I just want to go get a doner kebab with some garlic mayo and French fries in a wrap, and it's delicious, but no.
Honestly, I think on the nutrition side, when I first started, I'm trying to think, like, I was following a meal plan, so I wasn't really tracking like I am today in MyFitnessPal, obviously. So I think the thing that mattered was, because I went like did a whole like 180 in terms of what I was eating before to plan when the comp was over, I ended up binging a lot. So then it was too drastic. So I think, maybe just not being super restrictive to the point where it was I was like, I gotta eat this same chicken and broccoli. I can't eat chicken and broccoli anymore.
Can I make some input to that?
Yes, you can.
I think this probably is relevant to both of us in this instance, and is probably relevant to if any of our clients are watching this, is just make it part of your lifestyle. So it's not something that feels like a punishment or a temporary phase. The easier you can transition from quote unquote a prep/fat loss phase and then back into regular life, the less it's going to feel like you're, I guess, I don't know. I also feel like the language around kind of like being prep versus off season. It's like off season. Okay, I'm off season now, so
but the food should be the same.
But the food should be the same. You should be
just
kind of
less or more.
Yeah, should be just eating less or more of them. Manipulating it that way. But yeah, continue.
No, I mean the other thing is too. I just feel like it kind of ties into nutrition, but I would have saved myself so much more, like so much money, if I had just cooked myself. Like I used to order meal prep services from New York all the time, which by the way were amazing because they were really good. But I would have saved, I think, a lot of money if I just cooked at home and wasn't,
Yeah, for sure.
made the time for it.
For sure.
But yeah, other than that, I feel like I said, it's just before I started the fitness journey, I was eating out a lot, spending a lot of money. And yeah, it just eating out is just, it's good once in a, I'm not saying don't eat out ever, but I was doing it pretty much every day, every single day. I was doing it every single day because I never used to bring my lunch to work. So I would buy lunch, and then sometimes I get home late, I would buy dinner. So yeah.
Yeah. It's just so costly,
Especially in New York City.
Yeah. Well, yeah. New York is just expensive,
Yep.
and has just continued to get more expensive. So, like it is in all major cities these days, because it's just, it's a rising tide lifts all ships, as they say. But yeah, for me, nutrition-wise, I think the biggest thing was that I thought I was kind of tracking, but I was never really truly tracking. And I think a lot of times I kind of convinced myself I wasn't doing the if it fits your macros CrossFit thing, where it's like, well, I have 200 carbs left, so I can fill those carbohydrates with
A burger.
well, donuts or cereal, Lucky Charms, things like that. But there was a lot of periods where I would justify, okay, I'm in a bulking phase, because as well, back in the day, we were convinced either through the fitness industry or through all available, I guess, interpretations of anecdotes that we had, that you had to be in a substantial or at least somewhat of a calorie surplus in order to build muscle. Because ultimately, if you're trying to change your body composition to make it more aesthetic, the bottom line is you're either doing one of two things. You're either trying to lose body fat or you're trying to build muscle, right? One of those two things. You can do both at the same time, but it's probably a little bit more efficient, as we've said before, to focus on one goal at the exclusion of the other during different phases, because you'll be more efficient, from a recovery standpoint if you do that. But for me, I think, well, first of all, I just was always too fat. I was always above a body fat that was not probably conducive to my health, not that I was like obese, but I was just kind of always skinny fat. I was never in a place where I think my nutrient partitioning or insulin sensitivity was really, really good. That's something I credit Danny with, is like, she's been through periods where she's binged and gained a ton of weight, but I think for a lot of the periods of her fitness journey, she's also been like pretty daggers lean as well. So she kind of knew what that felt like probably earlier in the journey than I did. So the first time I got truly lean, I was like, oh, okay, now I can really just not only see the difference in my physique as it's changing, but I also just feel better. Yeah. I recognize the foods that affect my digestion.
It's a confidence thing too. I think it comes down to, I don't know for you guys, but I think it does for guys too, but like I have been to that upper, threshold of where where I'd like to sit in my weight, where, it made me uncomfortable. Like I wasn't as confident, and that's not who I am. If you know me, I'm like, hi, I'm here. You know what I mean? So, being at that weight, although it's not as if I'm saying like I was like super fat. You've seen me at my heaviest. I've shown you photos. You look fine.
Yeah, but it wasn't comfortable for her.
So uncomfortable and just so not confident within myself. So again, I think it comes down to, it's a personal journey in terms of, so back on the nutrition thing, it's just like not letting that get out of hand when
it wasn't, and I don't think it is always as bad or as noticeable of a thing mentally. Well, not for others, for guys generally, because we're more focused on I think the aesthetics of
Size.
being bigger and
Yeah.
kind of being more imposing, and that kind of gives us this false sense of bravado. And generally speaking, I'm saying generally here, this doesn't obviously hold true for all men or all women. I think in my experience, most of the females that I've worked with, they never want to get to a level of body fat or size where they feel too, I don't want to use the word bulky, but they don't want to feel like,
unsexy.
they don't want to feel like a man, essentially, is the best way I can put it. And of course, there's certain norms there's people that kind of skew those norms. That's totally fine. I'm just generalizing here. But in the same way that I think men don't want to appear to be skinny or be, I guess the skinny guy or the small guy, the runt of the litter, so to speak. So when we allow ourselves to get to those levels of body fat, and there were periods where I was like, probably well over 30% body fat, but, my chest was broad, my back was broad, my shoulders were broad, and I was thinking in my head, at least like when I'm in like for like a sweater, like I felt good and confident. And for me, that was like a feeling I'd never had before up till that point, because I'd always been the skinny fat kid. So now I was just kind of the burly guy.
Right.
But then when I started to realize when I took my shirt off and then I kind of saw what I looked like from behind, because when you're in a sweater, it's different, your shoulders, but you kind of conceal your love handles when you're in a sweater. I was love handle city. That was kind of my, for lack of a better term, for me. I don't know. For me, the love handles were the pain point for me, because even when I had been skinny, I'd still had love handles, and I hated it, and I had felt self-conscious. And little trip down memory lane here, I'd always been a pretty damn good swimmer, but the guys that I used to swim with in swim team and when I was an ocean lifeguard, both in England and New Zealand, they were the types of guys who'd just never been fat. So even though they were great swimmers too, they looked awesome as well. They looked almost like men's physique guys without even lifting weights. And I remember just thinking, man,
Bondi Rescue.
I want to be like, Bondi Rescue basically. And I know I used to watch Bondi Rescue and be like, man, I really want to just like feel like how these guys feel. I know that sounds like so silly, but in my mind, that was the...
It's not silly. I'm sure a lot of guys feel that way. They just don't say it,
Yeah, so that was the kind of like visual in my mind, but because I had never spent time on a structured lifting plan and also hadn't really eaten in a deficit long enough to kind of bring about that level of body fat and then build from that lower set point, I was just perpetually going from skinny fat to really fat, skinny fat, really fat. You know what I mean? And kind of, and luckily I never really got super, super heavy, but my habits around nutrition have changed aggressively. So I would probably just make sure that I never really go too far beyond maintenance, when I push into a surplus, because there's just no need. You don't need to be in an aggressive surplus to build muscle. It really comes down to peri-workout nutrition and performance, and we always hammer this with all of you guys that work with us, but maybe a lot of people don't know this. You don't need to be in a surplus or even an aggressive surplus to grow. An aggressive
surplus, yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to grow in a surplus, but you maybe 100-ish to maybe 200 calorie surplus maybe per day, and some people don't even need that. To build muscle, the amount of muscle you're actually building without anabolics, I think there was like a study done and they found that it's like something like between 8 and 15 calories daily additional for that muscle protein synthesis and that myofibril addition. Obviously, you're not going to track down to the 15, so being in a slight surplus is more efficient, but if you only need 15 calories, why are you eating 2,500 calories additional per week and gaining at a rate of 3 to 4% total body weight per week? It's too much.
Yeah, the fast gaining is not good. Been there, done that, won't be doing that again ever. So
yeah, for sure.
And I guess that goes on to what you were just saying earlier in terms of like building habits and things. What things will we do differently? Again, going back to that point in terms of around building habits, I think
way less cardio, like intense cardio. I think for both of us.
Yeah, I think for honestly, the one that stands out the most is sleep. Like I used to think I don't need that much sleep. I used to function off 4 hours, 5 hours sleep all the time, like no problems, and I used to think that was fine. I think back and I'm like, I don't know. It gets 8:30 and I'm already falling asleep. Like on the couch at night if I'm not in bed by 9. So that's a big one.
One of my greatest, victories in life is convincing Danny to slow down, and I'm still like proud of it because, when we met, she was just fast and loose on everything.
I'm still fast and loose.
Yeah, not to the degree that you were when we met. So you're sleeping better, and I don't know. It's nice to,
I'm not filling my day with activities until I go to bed. So that's, I'm gonna sit and chill and watch TV. So
Yeah, I just think your body and your health metrics reflect that. You know, you're not just go all the time. But yeah, just I think, I don't know, from my perspective, you're also just more at peace, which is also the other thing. You know, you're sitting with yourself more. So anyway, it's a nice feeling to see that. Sorry, a bit of an offshoot there.
Thanks, babe. Okay, so we'll talk about kind of habits. So I think the biggest one for me is sleep. You know, other than that, I think I was always, once I make a decision to do something, especially with the fitness stuff, like I'm pretty good with that side of things on the discipline side. So you know, I haven't stopped since I made that decision 11 years ago.
Yeah.
With the fitness, I took took a 4-year break from actually competing, but was still working out and stuff. So
yeah, I think when you truly become quote unquote addicted, or you start to live the lifestyle and you enjoy it, whether you're a competitive bodybuilder or you're just a hobby lifter, which it's okay to be a hobby lifter. You don't have to get on stage. You can still look almost like a competitive bodybuilder and just never compete.
There's plenty of people I know that look like bodybuilders that aren't. So.
Yeah, you're still a bodybuilder. You're just not a competitor or a competitive bodybuilder.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't let that kind of slow you down. But yeah, I think as far as habits and having, you know, kind of borders around like certain like habits, I would definitely be gaming less. Because that was the other thing, is like my sleep, never had an issue with sleep.
Right.
I wasn't working as a, you know, for Deloitte or KPMG like you are, where it was just like work, like 70-hour weeks.
Yeah.
There were like weeks like that when I was a personal trainer, which came later. But yeah, there was never this, I guess, for me, it was like the gaming is what kept me up. You know what I mean? Like if I was going to be awake, it was because I was playing too much. Well, at the time it would have been Dark Souls or something. But yeah, just, you know, because my brother's 10 years younger than me, and we would play games together, but he would not have the responsibilities that I would have at his age. So he'd be like, all right, let's play some games. I'd be like, all right, sure. And then we'd be going to bed at like 4 and then waking up at like 11. And I'd be like, oh man, I'm kind of tired, let's go for a walk down to the town. And I get like a frappuccino from, you know, this is like before I was 28 even, but you know, it's just, habits around sleep are obviously huge. I'm trying to think what other, like, I didn't really have any like really kind of self-destructive habits that I can think of in that period. Tell you what I would do, but an offshoot here, I would probably not date anyone. I would probably just be celibate and wait for Danny to cruise on into my life at, 20, how old was I when I met you? I would have been like right around 33. 33. Yeah. Probably would have just taken those 5 years and just like, nah, no dating, because without getting too much into it, unless someone is like on board and has the same lifestyle and really enjoys it and doesn't feel threatened by your need to be in shape, it's just going to slow you down. It really is, because you're being pulled by your desire in one direction, and they're pulling you either through their insecurities or their desire to pull you towards, you know, which comes down to compatibility. But yeah, I don't know if you feel the same way, if there'd be like periods where you like probably just wouldn't even entertain that and just focus on your like fitness side of things.
I don't think when I started, I wasn't dating anyway, so it was because I had just got out of a really, you know, a long relationship. So I will say, when you have that time and you have that motivation to yourself, it makes it so much easier just to put all that self-love into yourself in the gym. So definitely fine in that aspect. So.
And that's by no means like saying that you can't date and pursue it, but it's got to be,
your values and your like have to align, because again, we've spoken about this on a previous episode where, you know, if you're in a relationship and one person doesn't give a shit about fitness or working out and you do, you're gonna run into some troubles. I'm telling you.
Yeah, for sure.
So all right, so I guess shall we move into the next topic?
The next kind of overarching topic in terms of like how our goals kind of changed over time.
I guess the question is too, why, you know, I'm sure most people listening, like, I think when you first start your fitness journey, you have your why, right? And then over time, that why may change. Some people it may not, but for some it does, especially if you've been doing this for a long time. You know, I think my why when I first started, like I said, I was just going through a really rough time, and I was putting, you know, my body through hell by, you know, with alcohol and partying and stuff. And I was like, this is not making me feel any better. So my why at the time was like, I wanted to give myself love again, because I was not doing that by staying in a relationship I shouldn't have stayed in, and then punishing myself by going out. So I think for me at that time, my why was just to feel better. Honestly, it wasn't even about the aesthetics of it. It was more just like, I need to feel good about myself. And obviously over time that changes. Now, yes, I want to look good when I'm in my 50s, in my 60s.
Who are your Fitspos? I know who the OG one was.
OG one was Paige Hathaway.
Paige Hathaway, and now it's
now it's Hattie.
Hattie, yeah.
Her legs are insane. And good.
Yours shall be too.
Yes.
A little bit longer. Yeah. For me, it was Mike Thurston. You know.
Yeah.
Who for the longest time I was like, man, if he can look like that and he's natty. He's supposedly one of the biggest fake natties, but I don't know. I haven't spoken to him personally and asked him, obviously, but I used to want to look like Mike Thurston back in the day. That was my my inspiration. But yeah, when it started out, I just wanted to not feel self-conscious or just, I don't know. I grew up like watching Dragon Ball Z and playing Street Fighter and things like that. And in my mind, I was like, is this achievable? And I see other human beings who look like real life Street Fighter characters. Maybe not Mike Thurston, but they were like high-level bodybuilders. I'm like, I wonder if I can do that if I really put the effort into it, you know? And, obviously it changes over time. My why now, even though it ties into it, I think, is obviously helping others and people I work with overcome that not feeling good about themselves kind of internal battle that I fought with myself every day. Yeah. Maybe some of you haven't had this, maybe some of you had, I'm sure some of you had, where you take your shirt off in maybe a dressing room, and they have the 3-panel mirrors, and it's the first time you've seen yourself in a 3-panel mirror, and you're like, wait, this is what I look like from behind and from the side. There was a moment, I think it must have been 26, 27, right before I decided to okay, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. This is I have to learn everything I can about changing this. And I remember looking at myself from the side, and I'm like, and it's sad to think about it. I think of the younger version of me, even though it was 10 years ago, and I kind of want to put my hand on his shoulder and be like, it's cool, man.
You'll be okay.
You'll be okay. But I remember just grabbing my sides and turning, and just there were even aspects of my face where I was like, that's what I look like. And it was just really, I remember ruminating over it for weeks. And we can't change structural things about our face, but it was more so I was seeing, well, yeah, but... Yeah, you can. You can actually change anything you want these days. I don't advise it, but you shouldn't be going that route.
Right.
What I'm saying is that there was just this moment where I looked at myself and I was like, I don't like
what I see.
I see, and it was just for me, a really sad moment. And I know there are a lot of people and there's a lot of people there have been a lot of people who I work with, coaching wise, and they say in their intake form, they start with me, it's I know it's really selfish to kind of have this sort of aesthetic goal, but I really want this part of my physique to, and I'm like, that is not selfish.
No.
If you love yourself and you feel good about yourself, guess what? You're going to be happier, and you're probably going to be loving the people around you much more fully because you feel happy in yourself. I mean, that's what I've noticed. I mean, since Danny's come into my life and taught me a lot about loving myself more, I'm a way more open and loving person than I was when we met. I was Fort Knox when she met me.
Yeah.
So I know it's a bit of an offshoot here.
Great Wall of China I had to knock down.
Great Wall of China, forget it. It was Alcatraz, buried 500 miles underground. She had to go at it with a frickin' jackhammer to get me to frickin', actually come out of my shell, because I was so guarded, and I know what that feels like, and it's lonely. It's really, really lonely, because you just feel alone. You feel like you're just completely alone in the world. And I know that it's not just about how you feel physically, but that was tied in. And, it's not just about the aesthetics. Self-love is not just about the aesthetics. It's about making a promise to yourself and keeping it, and, knowing that you can stick it through. Yeah. But for me, that was it was originally just about me. Now it's about the other people that I can show that there's a way to reach that too.
Yeah. I think as a coach too, I think that's I love hearing that from my clients, or even not even just hearing it, but seeing it in their check-in. I can even see it in check-in photos, the confidence level, in their face, even in check-in photos of when, they started, where they weren't happy with themselves to, you know, where they are 3, 6, 12 months later is just, yeah, that's probably one of my favorite things to hear a client say, like, you know, I'm feeling so much more confident now. My clothes are fitting better. I mean, because let's be real, sometimes, a lot of the time people start this is just like, they're not happy with something, whether it's physical or they need, to, you know, the more discipline or, you know, accountability, or they want to see, you know, just how far they could push it. It's always fun to, and I like that everyone in their intake form usually has a different reason, but even then it does change even for clients over time too. I think the initial goal is like, oh, I just want to lose some weight, and then they get the weight off and they're like, oh, actually now I want to, you know, I really want to build some muscle, and your goals will change over time. And the great thing is that there's always a new goal to set. And I think like this thing with we've said this before, like as bodybuilders, we're never satisfied.
Yeah,
so there's always something we're chasing, which is great because it's, you know, that's part of our lives that we love. So,
yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I guess to transition away from us specifically in our stories, you know, we can kind of speak maybe anecdotally to some of the lies that we've heard people kind of tell themselves over the years. I mean, we've certainly, I think, done this at times, maybe kind of convinced ourselves that, you know, certain things are worse than they are, or
oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. You feel free to kick this one off, but like one of the biggest ones I was going to say is like the whole metabolism being broken thing.
Oh yeah. I think it goes into going back to not managing my reverse. So didn't manage my reverse, put on a ton of weight, but use the excuse of like, oh, I'm bulking right now because I'm trying to build muscle. Meanwhile, I was just like,
may I paint a picture for you? The excuse me, the my metabolism is broken starter pack.
Yes.
3,000 to 4,000 steps per day, not tracked. Food not tracked. Food tracked Monday through Thursday, but binge eating Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sleep not tracked, but on average, 4 to 6 hours of sleep, you know, periodically. No structured training, no structured cardiovascular exercise.
Yeah. I think another one is it's also a starter pack for like, there's something going on with my hormones. I used to say that all the time. Girls use that excuse all the time. Like, when I talk about something going on with my hormones, there must be because I'm not losing weight.
When I talk about metabolism being broken, I'm specifically, I think, gearing it towards like, you know, there's something wrong with my hormones, because everyone thinks that they are hypothyroid until they start getting 12,000 steps a day and tracking their, you know, calories, and I'm like, oh, all of a sudden I dropped 8 pounds in 3.5 weeks. It's like, maybe my metabolism isn't broken, but it's hard to make those adjustments if you're already kind of overweight, low energy, tired, etc. But a lot of people, they kind of go to the extreme, don't they? They always go to the extreme. They pull their calories down dramatically. They do a ton of high intensity cardio. They don't do resistance training. I mean, we've talked about this a million times, but I think
another one that I hear a lot, not from our clients, obviously, because they're awesome, but another one I hear just from like other people that I talk to about fitness is just like, I'd love to do, I just don't have the time. I'm like, you have the time. If my clients who are mums, work full time, you know, also run a side bit, if they can make the time, like, I'm sorry, you can make the time. There's always a way to make time for something. It's just an excuse that people use to put it off. So that's another big one I hear all the time. Like, a lie that people tell themselves is that they don't have the time.
Now, there are situations where people don't have the time, but if you truly don't have the time
all week,
you know, let's say there's like, you know, very, very rare instances where it's like, you know, maybe you're like a single parent and you have like a really busy, you know, shift work schedule, things like that. There's still ways to control some of the variables. Maybe if you can't control sleep, you can control calorie intake. Maybe if you can't get in the gym 4 or 5 days a week, you can get into a 3.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. There's ways to at least move the needle a little bit, or to prevent yourself from regressing. Because I think that progressing, you know, like crazy if you don't have a lot of time is obviously unrealistic. You just kind of tick the boxes that you can. But regressing, I think, is unacceptable, because if you continue to regress, it's only a matter of time before a disease or some type of, dysfunction or some kind of, negative pathology shows up. And then it's like, wow, I really wish I'd just taken a few extra walks or done a little bit of extra exercise. And now I'm on this medication, or I'm receiving treatment for this disease that could potentially end my life prematurely. Do you know what I mean? It's not a matter of you don't have time. It's just not a priority to you, and you have to make it a priority, even if it's not going to be, the best, bodybuilding, 15,000 steps a day, the cleanest diet, things like that. There are ways to make it work. And I think a lot of people convince themselves that they have zero time. There's very few people in today's era, I think, that have zero time.
Yeah.
To do it.
I think the other one too that I hear a lot is like, oh, I just need some more motivation, or, I need to kind of start myself, on my own first before I start with a coach, right? And I'm just like,
I'm not even going to weigh in on this, because Danny knows that if I weigh in on this, no, you won't be here forever. You guys will just think I'm even more of a jerk than I am sometimes, because it's just, that is just bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, look, the motivation thing is you're not going to be, you can't give someone motivation. A coach I can't give my clients motivation. I can try to motivate them, through what I post on Instagram. That's the hope, right? That's the reason why I'm an oversharer of all my training videos and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like, we always say this, and it's kind of beating the bush, but discipline is going to trump motivation. You just got to do it. There, even us, there are days where we don't want to go, but you just bloody go. You're never going to leave the gym going, God, I wish I didn't do that. You know what I mean? So
the greatest skill that anyone can acquire, whether it's in fitness, in business, in everyday life, is the ability to show up and do the things that you don't want to do. Sorry, the things that you need to do. Let me rephrase that. So cut. It's fine. I'll go again because I'm confusing myself. But the greatest skill that you can acquire out of pretty much any skill, whether it's in business, whether it's in, training, fitness, whatever you want to categorize it as, is your ability to show up even on the days when you don't want to. Because the people who actually get to the goal are the ones that show up on the days that they want to, the days that they kind of don't want to, the days they really don't want to. They don't allow how they're feeling in the moment to dictate their momentum. Because if you lose momentum, before you know it, you're back at square one or you're regressing. You have to be willing to show up on the days when you don't want to, because that's the difference between someone who kind of gets, the needle forward a little bit and the person who actually reaches the objective.
Yep.
How many days have we been, I just don't want to go to the gym today, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do these steps, but we just do it because we know that on the days we're feeling good, we're going to look back and be like, why didn't I do that?
Yeah. Yep. 100%. So I think people would tell themselves lies in order to kind of, just make excuses basically, but you're never gonna achieve that goal. And it's not even just in fitness. I mean, it ends up bleeding into your other areas of your life too. So just take a look, at those other things and be like, oh, okay, I'm not doing so good in my job because I keep putting things off. I'm not good in, my relationships, in my personal, in my health and fitness. I mean, there tends to be usually a pattern that bleeds out. So
how you do one thing is how you do everything. Yeah, exactly. If you are sloppy or lazy on the small stuff, you'll be just the same on the big stuff. Yeah. And I actually put something up on the gram recently speaking about this that was just, and the one thing that really resonated with me is if you're only turning it on or turning up the heat when the necessity is there, opportunity and the true challenges and the things that define you, you're not going to know when they're coming. So if you're only turning it up when you can anticipate those things happening, you're not going to be ready to meet the challenge when it comes. So show up with excellence every day, and you're not going to be left, for lack of a better term, with your trousers down when the time, really calls for, you know what I mean, with your pants down.
I know, but I just like how you say
you bloody guys know what I mean. It doesn't matter. But,
your pants down.
If you're not pursuing excellence every day or in every part of the process, then when opportunity knocks or the challenge that you really need to be on your A game for shows up at the door, and you're only bringing your 20% instead of your 95 to 100%, you have no one to blame but yourself when you fumble that opportunity or you don't meet the goal. Sorry, that's just the way it is. If you don't like it, suck it up and work harder. That's the bottom line.
Do you know what my version of that is? And we'll wrap it up here.
Huh.
Don't half-ass it. Full-ass it every time.
Full-ass it.
Full-ass it.
We're ending it on full-ass
We're
it.
going to end it on full-ass it every time. All right, guys. Well, that was episode 8. Thank you for sticking through with us. Hopefully some of these stories resonated with you. Like always, please add your comments. Let us know what you thought. If there are certain topics you want us to cover for next time, because we always welcoming those ideas. Saves us trying to think of stuff each week.
And if you haven't already, leave us a 5-star review so our pod gets more little stars next to it. I think there's like 7 or 8 5-star reviews, but I know there's at least 60 people listening to this thing because I can see the metrics. So you guys bloody get on board and start leaving reviews and I mean on the Spotify on the Spotify page just hit 5 stars. It's it helps people see our stuff. So
but we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much and peace out.
Danny's ready to go. See you next time, guys.